Welcome and thank you for joining us today. My name is Mireya Sanchez. I am a co-director at Chelan-Douglas County Volunteer Attorney Services, and I'll be conducting today's candidate interview for the office of Douglas County Clerk. With me today is Andrea Jester, who is a candidate in Douglas County. We are so glad to have you here. Thank you for coming. This interview is being recorded and will be made available to the public later this week. The questions that Andrea will be asked today were drawn from the experiences of community members, clients, and the legal community in their interactions with the Douglas County Clerk, or with both county clerks in general. So they reflect real needs and curiosity from the people that our office serves and several other offices in the area serve. So we've got about 5 to 6 questions with some follow-ups. And we ask that you try to keep your responses to about 2 to 3 minutes if possible, and we'll just let you know if it's running long a little bit. So to get us started, Andrea, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to our viewers, maybe share a little bit about why you're running and what strengths you think you would bring to the clerk's office.
Okay, I'm Andrea Jester, and I am the current court facilitator for Douglas County Superior Court. I am also the legal financials officer, and I also in the community for Waterville and the administrative director for the ambulance. The reason why I'm running is because I see a need to better serve the community and all residents of Douglas County. From my experience at the clerk's office, I see hands-on that customers are getting lesser of a service when they can get a little bit more. And by that, I mean access to justice was a big one that I'm focusing on for my goals. Another one would be better leadership and training in order to not only help with taxpayer dollars and keep the money in your guys' wallet, but also to better serve the workers and the community. Because when we have good leadership and good training and your staff feels like they're supported and they know exactly what they're doing and you're retaining the people, your level of service gets increased to the community as well. And by that, I also mean the accuracy of your documents. And then during your court hearings, the court is better prepared and has viewed your documents in a timely manner as well.
Excellent, thank you. So let's go ahead and get started with the questions. In the legal aid community, which is of course what we specialize in, there's frequent discussion regarding access to justice, and it's something that we're always working towards increasing. So we see the clerk's office as a natural partner in that effort, since it's often the starting point for folks who have legal matters. So tell us, what do you see the role of the clerk and the clerk's office in general playing in helping to ensure access to justice for residents of Douglas County?
So for that, what I see is the clerk has a lot of opportunity to serve the community, and not only by bridging the gap between court and the residents that we serve, but by explaining the process to people that don't fully understand. And one of my ideas and goals is to better on social media, because everyone uses it, explain what the clerk does and what we can do for the public and people's rights to their documents and their files. Because a lot of times you hear, what does the clerk even do? And I think explaining that to people and how it is important, and it's an important job because it's their first stop, that better serves the community. Another thing as well too is a lot of our packets are in English only, and then a lot of our Spanish speaking customers have to drive all the way up to Waterville to have an appointment, or just simply for questions or to file their documents, and then they hear that it's either wrong or they have to go back down to town to have their documents translated. And not only that, they have to pay someone to do that. And I had better ideas on potentially a part-time position that can translate those documents right then and there when they're filed, can do the appointments to better help these clients to where they're getting the service right then and there, and they're not being stopped or told they have to go elsewhere. I think also bridging the communication by serving all Douglas County, for instance, having packets and partnerships with Bridgeport, as well as potentially Palisades and other areas where they can go to a local shop or place, for instance, maybe the town hall, and purchase a packet online, but they don't have to drive all the way to Waterville or pay postage to then get that.
I understand. Thank you. So to follow up on that, In our community, we often find that those with the greatest need, and especially folks who may be low income or facing financial hardship, they can really struggle with meeting requirements at some of the clerk's offices, and such as fee payments, filing fees and the such. So sometimes people also struggle with access to technology that's meant to simplify that process, and you touched on that a little bit. So, with those things in mind, what's one thing that our community can count on you to do or prioritize in your role as clerk in service to that access?
One thing that they can count on me to prioritize, I think communication is a big one. I think what we do have is a lack of communication, and that people aren't understanding, even when we have the electronic filing system, which is a great system and it's newer to us, as in the last about 4 years. It's very confusing. And a lot of the phone calls we do get is, well, what button do I click? How do I start the account? And how do I pay the filing fee? Or why was this rejected? And a lot of it is it's pawned off on, oh, go watch that hour-long video. We can't help you with that. So I think having either a brochure or something that they can go to with quick links or quick instructions, so that way it's by case, whether it's a divorce or a parenting plan, how to, with pictures, file online. That way, when they are struggling and they can't get a hold of someone, instead of being pawned off on the 1 hour video, that is not super helpful. I've watched it. They can have actual instructions step by step on how to file their documents without being rejected over and over and over when they have a hearing in maybe a week.
Okay, thank you. We're going to switch gears a little bit and ask a question about how the clerk's office works with the court side of things, for clarity. So many of our community members don't realize that the clerk's office and the judges are overseen by two different branches of government. So can you explain in simple terms what this means, and what are some of the benefits and challenges potentially to the public of these separate systems as it relates to access to justice?
And I'm sorry, I'm reading the chat because it did freeze in the middle of that question. So the relationship between the court and the clerk's office, the way I best explain it to people is the clerk is essentially the secretary of the court. We handle all of their paperwork and the case files of our customers, and we are supposed to bridge that gap, and court can't be prepared for a hearing to better serve the community if they don't have their documents and stuff filed accurately. So we are the ones that help prep them for court, that make sure their files are ready to be viewed, and we help by serving the court to then better serve the community.
Okay, so on that note, how do you envision staying in sync with judges' chambers to ensure that clients are always getting clear, consistent information about what they need to file?
I think building that relationship, I think the relationship between the clerk and the court can be better built. And a lot of it, I know I keep going back to communication, but that's a big thing that I do feel like they're lacking. If the two offices can communicate better together and have that relationship, for instance, whether it's a weekly meeting or bi-weekly meeting or monthly meeting, to make sure that both needs are being met, to then verify that the customer is being met as well.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to move on to a little bit about self-represented clients. Here at CDCVAS, all of our clients are self-represented with very, very few exceptions. These clients often rely on resources that we provide them or referrals that we make to county offices like the clerk's office for assistance with filing and documentation requirements. So what are some approaches that you would bring to the clerk's office to support those self-represented clients, and especially those filing with a fee waiver, because that process can also be confusing?
So I think that's where the court facilitator definitely comes in hand too, because the big thing with the clerk's office is learning what is legal advice and what's advice that we can give. I feel like the customers are a lot of time are told, oh, I can't explain that to you, that's legal advice, or oh, I can't do that to you for you, that's legal advice. But there is a lot of stuff that the clerk's office can do to help better communicate with the customer. For instance, the fee waivers, because they are extremely confusing and there's a lot of questions on them. So the court facilitator can actually assist in those paperwork and then help better explain that. I've communicated and thought about, it's $30 to meet with the court facilitator in Douglas County. I know Chelan County is a little bit different, but when you tie on $30 to meet with the facilitator and then $30 to pay for the packet, potentially $40 depending on the case type, that's a lot of money. And especially for whether it's low income or middle income, it's still $70 to $60, which is a lot. But the profit in the year of the court facilitator and the benefit to the clerk's office, potentially waiving that fee so that way the customer is only paying for the packet because paper does cost money. So that way it meets both needs, and then also explaining to the customer what services they can get.
Okay, you froze just a little bit in the middle there, so can you repeat that part about right after you said the total amount that it can cost and like what comes in as far as fees to the court?
Yeah. So I'll give a little bit of rough estimates too. So to meet with a facilitator, it's $30, and then packets vary anywhere from $20, $30 to $45. And that is a lot of money to any paying customer. And that's not the entire process of their case either. Usually that's just to get their foot in the door or to set a hearing. And it's extremely confusing and frustrating both financially as well, because when people are coming to us, they're typically one of the worst day of their lives. So they're already stressed out. You're not preparing for that kind of money, and it's a lot to come out of your pocket, and you're already confused. So you're not really processing just normal day-to-day things in the right mind frame. So then throwing on 100 and some page packet and trying to figure it out is extremely confusing. I believe last year I estimated in with packet fees and assistance fees, it was around $900. If you take out the $30 fee to help the customers and they get that service for free and they only pay for the packet because paper does cost money out of the clerk's office, then I think that they can be better served.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome.
So we're kind of coming to the close of our questions here. We've talked a lot about access to justice, and you've talked at length about, your ideas behind that. So tell us, with everything that you've shared today in mind, what does access to justice mean to you?
Access to justice means to me that everyone's needs are being met, not just an attorney because they work for a law firm, not just the court or the prosecutor's office because of their titles. Access to justice means for everyone, not to serve one person, it's to serve all. And every person has a different case and a different experience going on. And I think being open-minded, having not only just the tools that they need to be better served, but also the staff having the empathy and the kindness that the customers deserve.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much. That does conclude our interview questions. Thank you to Andrea Jester for your time and your thoughtful responses today. We really appreciate your participation in this process. For the viewers, this concludes our interview. The recording will be shared with the public by the end of this week. So thank you to our viewers as well for being here.
Thank you so much.